Hi guys, and welcome to another day of mindfulness. Today what we are going to talk about is non-striving. So, in order to practice non-striving, which really is just knowing that we can set these goals and that they are going to happen in their own time, not necessarily by us forcing them to happen. So non-striving takes patience, it takes acceptance, and it takes letting go. So, I don't know about anyone else on here, but patience is not my strongest virtue. I always wanted to have things when I wanted them. I was a very impatient person. I really liked getting things in my time because it made me more comfortable. And I felt like I had this sense of control over an outcome. So when it comes to non-striving, it's about not forcing the outcome that you desire, and rather than that, allowing the outcomes to come to you, if that makes sense. So when we talk about acceptance, it's about no longer worrying about the what ifs of life. What if I would have done that differently? Oh my God, looking at the past, I should have done that so differently. I can't believe I did that. Ugh. 20 minutes of life lost in thought about something that cannot be changed. Or what ifs about the future. What if this happens? And then what if that happens? But then what if that happens? And planning for all of these things that could possibly unfold in your future. Creating anxiety, creating timelines, holding your self-judgment against your past, holding self-judgment against the future, and not being able to be present because you're split between the two worries of what if rather than accepting whatever is going to unfold. A big part of that is letting go of thoughts, ideas, feelings, expectations that perhaps you're too attached to. When it comes to letting go, it's not that these things go away. It's not that the thoughts of wanting these things to unfold just go away. What it is about is noticing them and not judging them, but also not attaching or denying that they're there. An example of non-striving. So non-striving and the stress that can come with it can often happen when people place timelines or expectations on their life. So for example, sometimes people go to the gym and they say, I want to have this outcome. So what they do is they go every single day or 5 days a week and they work out super hard. And they're determined to meet their body goals, and they change their diet, and they change their routine, and they change this, and they go to the gym, and they go full force. They say, I'm going to go every single day, or I'm going to run every single day. And within the first couple of weeks or within the first month, either they get an injury or they end up hating it. And it's because it was not something that was sustainable or that happened organically or naturally. It was something that was forced. Now, it is great to have goals and it is great to push yourself, but there's also a sense of awareness of if something is not sustainable, then it is not something that is going to actually contribute to the aspect of non-striving. So non-striving, really what it has to do is sustainability. Having constant anxiety, worrying about the future, or having constant anxiety, worrying about the past. It's not sustainable. It takes you out of the present moment, which is the only thing you actually have any sense of control or appreciation over. You can learn from past experiences. And that's what all of these experiences are about. They're about simply noticing and experiencing life and figuring out what works for you and your goals and how to implement them and what doesn't. And rather than striving to force puzzle pieces to fit that don't fit together, finding acceptance with those things in your life that don't fit and letting go. Letting go of negative self-talk, letting go of judgment against others, letting go about judgment against yourself. Simply noticing how being simply present for whatever's there and the task at hand can change everything. Because if you just spend your time focusing on one thing, which is the present, then that one thing will change the future. But worrying about the future in the present just takes you out of figuring out how to do things in the present moment, if that makes sense. So the goal is to just patiently allow life to unfold and reveal its tools to you that you can use. Sometimes it's easy to rush to solve a problem before you have all of the tools to solve it. But if you just sit and wait, sometimes life will bring you new tools or new lessons that will help you problem solve your future by simply showing up for it. I can't answer a problem on a question I haven't learned the lesson to yet. And a lot of the times when we worry about things in the future or what we could have fixed in our past, we're forgetting to realize the lessons that are happening in the present moment that can actually help us solve those problems in life's time, not in our time. The universe is going to unfold how it unfolds, and we show up as best we can and learn the lessons that we can so that we can contribute to ourselves and our wellness and alleviating the stress of worrying so that we can be better humans and better kids to our parents and better partners and better workers and better students. But I can't focus on solving those problems in the future when they haven't happened yet. So being present for what is happening and appreciating it as the lessons that might help you fix those future problems in the future. But if you are not aware enough to learn the lessons now, you will not have the answers then. So recognizing that non-striving and the principle of non-striving, it may be infuriating and might not want to let go of the ideas of getting what we want or having what we need or having what we think we need. But a lot of the times, if we let go of attachment to these things, far better things are brought into our world and our universe. But if we are constantly seeking to find a different outcome, we won't be able to notice these things when they show up in our lives and appreciate them. So just having appreciation for the present moment and not striving to obtain what we think we need to obtain, but allowing the universe to bring to us whatever lessons it feels that we need so that in the future we can notice exactly what it was that the universe intended for us, rather than blocking ourselves from those gifts of the universe by telling ourselves we need something different than we actually do. So just have patience and allow life to unfold and set your goals, but try not to force them. Forcing goals rather than allowing them can just create injury for ourselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And today is not about overstressing or overdoing or overthinking. Today we're going to try to practice non-striving. The same thing goes in our practice. We don't strive to be perfect in mindfulness. We don't say, I have to follow all of the exact words at the exact time, and I can't have any thoughts, and I have to only focus on the breath. And when she says hear a sound, I have to hear a sound. When she says do this, it's not about that. I'm giving guidelines rather than rigid rules. Show up for whatever shows up in your body. When I say notice what's happening in your body, if you decide to notice sounds, that's still something that's happening in your body. There's no way to do mindfulness wrong, but there's ways to have judgment about what you're doing. So today in practice, we're just going to show up for whatever shows up. We are not going to strive to be perfect in mindfulness. We are simply going to strive to be imperfect human beings and try to learn to connect with ourselves as best that we can. So, just getting into a seated and comfortable position. And if you so want to, if your body wants you to, closing your eyes and allowing your body to adopt a position in which you are able to stay awake and notice whatever shows up. And heck, if sleep shows up, so what? Let it be. Don't judge yourself for it. Preparing to receive the sound of the bell. as we begin our short meditational practice today. Noticing at first, perhaps, the position in which we are seated. Noticing our body. Noticing how it feels today. Simply noticing in the moment what shows up. Desires to move. Desires to attach. Desires to think. Perhaps we notice sounds in the background. Rather than judging or moving, simply noticing. Perhaps we notice some body sensations show up that are uncomfortable. And again, rather than judging, simply noticing. Connecting with the breath. Noticing the in-breath. Noticing the out-breath. Noticing perhaps sounds. And rather than seeking sounds, simply observing what sounds come to you. Rather than striving to notice anything with my prompts, simply noticing what shows up for you in your practice. And as we practice non-striving, noticing what happens in your practice as my voice drifts into the background and you notice your thoughts, and remember to use your anchor breath to bring you back to the present moment, noticing whatever you're noticing and returning to the breath as my voice drifts into the background. Noticing perhaps if the mind wanders as the mind was built to wander, and noticing the thoughts that we had, noticing what sounds we heard, noticing what sensations showed up in our body, perhaps noticing the silence or the attachment to it, or the attachment to the breath, or the desire for the silence to end. Not striving to be perfect, not striving to be anything but what we are supposed to be in this moment, which is simply aware of what is happening around us, simply becoming aware works in the moment. Not judging, not trying to change it, simply being a part of it. Noticing the thoughts as an observer, noticing the desires, and rather than forcing change, or forcing solutions, or forcing our will on the world around us, or on our bodies, simply noticing what shows up for it. Being present in the moment for what is happening in the here and the now, and appreciating it. For this moment is the most important moment, as is this one, as is this one. For these are the moments that make us who we are, if we're able to stay awake and aware for the lessons it will teach us. And preparing to receive the sound of the bell as we end our meditational practice today. Slowly wiggling our fingers and our toes, slowly opening our eyes and coming back into the room, and perhaps noticing how our body feels right now, when it is simply being present and not striving, simply noticing what showed up and not judging it. I want to thank you guys for joining me again for a day where you practice being exactly who you are supposed to be and accepting yourselves for exactly who you are. I hope you guys have an amazing day and an amazing week.